My neighbor smiled as he watched the city bulldoze my fence. I told them it was on my side, he said, holding coffee like it was a game. That night, I sat on my porch until 3 a.m., just watching. 2 days later, I left something in his mailbox that he'll never forget. For a long time, Brad and I got along fine. Not friends, not enemies. Just two men living next to each other, minding our own business. We'd wave if we saw each other getting the mail. Sometimes he'd borrow a ladder, or I'd bring in his trash bins if he forgot. Nothing deep, nothing weird. Then his wife left. I didn't ask questions, but I noticed things changing. His yard started to look rough. He stopped mowing the way he used to. Beer bottles showed up near the edge of his property line. I chalked it up to a hard time. We all go through things. But he didn't bounce back. Instead, he started acting territorial. Like every square foot of land suddenly mattered. I'd catch him standing near the edge of my property, staring at the ground like he was measuring it in his head. Then I got a letter from the city. Said they received a complaint that part of my fence was over the line. Said they'd surveyed it and confirmed it. They'd be removing the fence at the city's cost due to the legal boundary. I didn't believe it until the truck showed up. Big yellow bulldozer. 2 guys in reflective vests. They rolled into my backyard one morning like it was their job, which I guess it was. One of them knocked on my door. "We're here for the fence removal," he said, like it was routine. I went out and stood there while they tore it down. That fence wasn't fancy, but I built it myself. Took me a whole summer. I didn't have money back then, so I used reclaimed wood. I painted it navy blue. It curved slightly around the old tree near the back, the one I promised my daughter we'd put a swing on someday. The fence kept her in when she was younger. It kept dogs out. It made my space feel like mine. Brad came out while they were halfway through it. He had a mug of coffee. He leaned against his railing, all relaxed, like he was enjoying the show. I told him it was on my side, he said.
No pallegui.
Just a smirk. I didn't respond. I just kept watching the fence come down one panel at a time. The wood cracked like bones. Dust filled the air. That night, I sat outside on my porch until almost 3 a.m.
I didn't even know why.
I just felt wired. Angry. Not yelling angry, just that deep, sick kind that settles in your chest. I didn't even bring a beer out. I just sat there, staring toward his house. I saw his kitchen light turn off a little before 2. Before that, he was walking around in there, pacing, talking on the phone. I couldn't hear anything, but I imagined it was about me. 2 days later, I put something in his mailbox. Something simple. Something legal. But something he wouldn't forget. It was a copy of a permit application.
For a shed.
Right up against the new property line. Technically, it was my right. I filed it with the city right after they tore down my fence. Used their own survey against them. I asked for permission to build a structure exactly 6 inches from the legal boundary. That's all I needed. I included the preliminary sketches with the application, plus a polite note, typed and signed. Since you've helped clarify the property line, I'm making full use of the space I legally own. Thank you. That same evening, he was in my yard. Didn't knock. Just walked straight up while I was grilling on my back porch. "You serious with this shit?" he said. I looked him dead in the eye. "All within my rights, Brad. You planning to build a wall now?" "No," I said. "Just a shed." He stared for a while. "You're really gonna block my view? You bulldozed my fence." He opened his mouth like he was gonna argue, then just shook his head. "You're petty as hell, man." Then he walked off. The next week, I started construction. I hired a couple guys from a local crew. They were fast, polite, and didn't ask questions. I was there every day, watching. Brad would come out and just stand in his yard, hands on hips, acting like he owned the air. Didn't say a word, though. The day the shed went up, he lost it. He waited until the workers left. Then he came over again. "This thing is an eyesore," he said. "You know damn well it doesn't need to be right there." "It's my yard," I said. "And now it's my view." He walked off cursing. 2 days later, I found deep scratches down the side of the new shed. It was petty and obvious. I didn't say anything. I didn't call the cops. I just installed cameras, real ones, not fake. Pointed right at the boundary. And then I made a call to the county records office. I had a hunch. See, when he filed that complaint with the city, he forced a resurvey. But the thing about resurveys is they often trigger paperwork. And the more paperwork, the more records. If something isn't right, it shows up. I spent 2 weeks digging. County plot maps, building permits, old plats from when the neighborhood was first divided up in the 80s. Most of it was boring. Until I found one document. From 1991. A permit denied to the previous owner of Brad's house for a garage that would have slightly overlapped the utility easement. That easement was still in place. And Brad? He had a brand new tool shed sitting right on top of it. I printed the record, called the utility company, asked what they'd do if someone built on a protected easement. The guy on the phone said, "That's a code violation. We'd file for removal." I smiled. "You might want to check the property behind 214 Grand Avenue." The next week, a notice went up on Brad's door. Bright orange. Violation. Immediate review required. Brad must have gotten that notice around 10 a.m. I know because by 10:30, he was pounding on my door like he was trying to break it in. I didn't answer. He stood out there for a while, then started pacing back and forth on my driveway, hands in the air, yelling things I couldn't make out. I stood just inside the hallway, watching through the peephole, quiet. When he finally gave up and stomped back to his yard, I noticed something. He looked scared. A couple days later, a city inspector showed up. Took pictures, made notes. I was outside cutting the lawn, and the guy gave me a small nod, like he knew what was going on but wasn't about to say anything out loud. Brad avoided me after that. Didn't wave, didn't yell. He kept his head down. 3 weeks later, I came home, and the shed was gone. Not just emptied, gone. All that was left was a patch of uneven dirt and a few nails scattered around. He must have had it hauled off early in the morning. But that wasn't the twist. The twist came in the mail. I got a letter from a local law office. Said Brad was filing a claim that my shed had intentionally blocked his access and damaged the quiet enjoyment of his property. He was threatening to sue for nuisance. I laughed when I read it. Not because it was funny, but because it was stupid. He was poking at something he didn't understand. So I went back through my files, every permit, every receipt, every photo. I organized them. Then I wrote a short letter back, copied my lawyer, and included a copy of the security camera footage. It clearly showed the date he scratched my shed.
Clear as day.
Time-stamped. Full color. Any claim of nuisance must also consider prior provocation, I wrote. Happy to discuss this in front of a judge. The lawsuit went nowhere. But something happened after that. He started watching me. Like, really watching. Every time I stepped outside, taking out the trash, watering the lawn, anything, he'd be at a window. Curtain barely pulled back. One night, I saw him walking around his yard with a flashlight. Not fixing anything. Just walking. Looking. Circling like a damn animal. A few days later, my mailbox was open when I got home. Just hanging there. Nothing inside. No mail.
No yank.
Just empty. I checked the security footage. At 2:13 a.m., the camera picked up movement. But it was too dark. The figure didn't get close enough for facial recognition. Just a shadow, slow and deliberate, moving toward the street. I reported it. Nothing they could do. But now it was clear we were past property lines and lawsuits. This was personal now. And I was ready to end it. I decided to stop reacting and start digging deeper. Something about Brad's behavior felt off. Not just petty, but unstable. I figured if I could learn more about him, maybe I could get leverage. Not for revenge. For protection. So I started small. Looked up his name in public court records. Mostly boring stuff. A traffic ticket in 2017. A dismissed noise complaint. But then I found something interesting. A restraining order. Filed 3 years ago by a woman named Melanie Parker. The document was sealed, but the summary line was still visible. Domestic disturbance and threatening behavior. I checked the address. It wasn't this one. It was about 10 minutes away, across town. But it was him. Same full name, same date of birth. I didn't do anything with it yet. That same week, I saw his ex-wife. She pulled up while I was out getting the mail. Parked on the curb for less than 2 minutes. Engine running. She knocked on his door, handed him something, didn't say a word. He didn't say anything either. Just took the envelope and slammed the door. I stood there and watched. She caught my eye before getting back in her car. For a second, I thought she was going to look away. But she didn't. She walked across the street. "You're the neighbor?" she asked. I nodded. She glanced back at his house, then leaned in and said, "Be careful with him. He doesn't stop when he gets mad.
He waits.
Holds on to things." Then she left. That stuck with me. Later that night, I looked back through all the footage I'd saved, every movement near my yard, every late-night shadow. Something clicked. He wasn't messing with my property anymore. He was watching my house. Windows. Side entrances.
Lights.
So I set up a second camera. Not pointing at him, pointing at my own side door. The one nobody uses but leads into the garage. I also changed the locks. Added deadbolts. Bought a motion sensor floodlight and installed it under the eaves. That weekend, at 3:42 a.m., it triggered. The footage showed him walking along the edge of his own property. Just far enough to technically not be trespassing. But he was looking toward my garage door. Holding something. I couldn't tell what it was. Too far, too dark. But he just stood there. For almost 3 minutes. Then turned and walked back. That was the last straw. I called the police again. Told them about the footage. The mailbox. The shadow. I gave them the restraining order record I'd found. They said they couldn't do much unless he crossed the line, literally. So, I crossed mine. I printed stills from the video. Made a copy of the old restraining order summary. Put everything in a folder. Then I walked to his house. Knocked once.
Calm.
He opened the door. Smirk already forming. Before he could speak, I handed him the folder. He flipped through it. His face changed fast. I said just one thing. "If anything happens to me or my house, this goes to the cops, your job, and the HOA." Then I walked away. I didn't hear from him for a week. Until the fire. It was 1:17 a.m. when I heard the pop. Not a loud explosion. Just a sharp crack, like something brittle snapping under pressure. I was half asleep on the couch, TV still on low volume. My first thought was a tree branch, maybe one of the old oaks in the yard. I got up, walked toward the front door. Then I saw the glow through the window. Orange. Flickering. I opened the door, and the smell hit me. Smoke, sharp and bitter. I ran down the steps barefoot, didn't even grab my phone. The fire wasn't in my house. It was the shed. My shed. The one right up against the property line. The flames were already climbing one side. I ran back in, called 911, told them the fire was spreading, gave the address, then went back out with a garden hose like that was going to help anything. It didn't. The fire department showed up fast. They kept it from reaching my house. Took less than an hour to put it out. But the shed was gone. Just charred beams and melted siding. The next morning, an arson investigator came by. Took photos. Asked if I had enemies. I didn't answer right away. Just looked at the fence line. "I might," I said finally. "But he's careful." He nodded. "That's usually how it goes." They found signs of accelerant. Said it was likely started at the base. "Somebody wanted this gone," the investigator said. "Not an accident." The insurance company came next. I handed them everything. Photos, receipts, video footage, timelines. But here's the thing. That night, the camera near the shed went dead.
Just that one.
Power cord sliced clean through. The other cameras caught nothing. Not even movement. But I knew. I knew who did it. And I knew what I had to do next. I filed for a protective order. Walked into the courthouse, documents in hand, and told them everything. Harassment, vandalism, trespassing, arson. They processed it same day. I left copies in Brad's mailbox, with a note. This time, the fire's on paper. A week passed.
2.
He didn't show his face. Then, one morning, a moving truck pulled into his driveway.
No sign.
No warning. Just boxes and quiet.
By sunset, he was gone.
No goodbye. No final smirk. Just silence. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night and look toward that side of the yard, half expecting to see someone standing there. He's gone, but the feeling isn't. And maybe that's what I hate the most. That I didn't just lose a shed, or a fence, or peace and quiet. I lost the sense that I was ever really safe in my own home.